Going on, people? Back at you with another edition of Gen Sports Corner for 3/21/2020. In the midst of all this craziness going on, figure we talk about NFL free agency because when you think there's going to be a dull day, there isn't. Even though we don't have sports right now, we have a lot to talk about with the NFL, a lot of signings, a big trade with my Birds, an interesting signing today with the Raiders. What's going on, Ryan? And just a lot of moves. Actually, another interesting signing with the Birds, too, that I have to talk about. So, let me bring a couple more people into this because, as we all well know, unless you're working at GameStop or someplace that's completely out of their damn minds, you're most likely home today. So, I figured this would be a good time to do a live feed just so we all have something to do. We can sit here, kick it, talk about sports for a little bit. You know what I mean? So, let's get a couple people on here. And in the comments below, leave your comments of things you want to hear me talk about because, as you know, I will be talking about the Eagles, I'll be talking about the Brady signing, and so on and so forth. So, where y'all at? Where y'all at? Hop on in, hop on in. That's good for now. So, what's going on, Chris? How you feeling, man? So, first things first, the big signing, the GOAT, TB12, goes down to Tampa Bay, signs 2 years, $25 million a year, $50 million total on his contract. He's going to be down there in Tampa Bay. What do you think is going to happen? You think Chris Godwin's going to give up the number 12 to the GOAT? You damn right he's going to give up number 12. I ain't even know. Like I'm open to giving him the number. You ain't got no choice, bro. Yeah, I'll be here. Yeah, you ain't got no choice, bro. You got to give up that 12. It's give up that 12 and be happy about it. Not too much going on, Ryan. Talking about this Brady signing with Tampa Bay, which we all knew was going to happen. Do you think they're going to be a contender because of that? You know, Breeze is back with the Saints, I think on a 2-year deal. Then Teddy Bridgewater signed with the Panthers, so now Cam's going to be gone, and Cam is not happy about that. Teddy Bridgewater signed a 3-year, $60 million deal? He's making somewhere around like $21 million a year. What's going on, Julian? He's making somewhere around $21 million a year. So that last season, when he filled in for Drew Brees, that made his stock shoot up through the ceiling. So good on him. Congratulations for him earning that contract after that gruesome leg injury he had about 3 years ago. Some thought he might never play again, and look at him now. He's actually taking Cam's spot. Who would have thought Superman would be out the door? What other big signing? Melvin Gordon signs with the Broncos? Yeah, I think the Broncos on a 2-year deal. So he left the Chargers, goes to the Broncos on a 2-year deal. The Broncos are there's actually rumors that the Broncos are interested in PJ, I can't remember his last name. He was in the MVP discussion for the XFL this year. So he made a splash over in the XFL. So now the Broncos, along with a few other teams, are now interested. So, hey, good on the XFL. They were having a good year before everything got stopped, and now some of these guys are going to get an opportunity to be on the NFL roster. So, congrats for the league for giving them the exposure, and congrats for them for getting the opportunities now. Now, on to one signing before I get to the Eagles. You know, the GOAT, Mr. I got hands like bricks. Mr. I also made big plays in the Super Bowl. Mr. Nelson Aguilar has signed, I believe, a 1-year deal with my Oakland Raiders. And I don't know how I feel about this, man. I really don't. Signed a 1-year deal, with the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know why. I like him. He's a good guy. He had some good moments here. He had some painfully excruciating drops in big moments last year and other times. But he also had some really big catches that just made you think, like, how can you make that catch and then drop a walk-in touchdown? So hopefully a change of scenery gives Nelson a chance to revert himself back to his 2017 form. And the version we saw that year. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Well, good luck. Hopefully he reverts back to that form and he's able to give us out the slot, 48 catches for 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's what I would hope out of Nelson Aguilar. That's what I would hope to get production-wise, and I would be very happy with that. And that's more than doable with his talent level. So best of luck with Nelson out in Las Vegas. Hell, he won't have to pay taxes, I don't believe, in Vegas, so that's another perk. And then on to the big moves made by the Eagles this past week. One being the pickup of Javon Hargrave, the defensive tackle, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers. 6'2", 310, short, stubby guy, but really has a low center of gravity and can push the pocket. I like that move. And then the big trade, the big move, it's Slay Day. Darius Slay, got him for a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick this year from the Detroit Lions. And then we signed him to an extension that gives him 3 more years and $50 million, along with the $10 million he's set to make this year. So he's on average going to make $16.7 million on average per year, which makes him the highest paid safety cornerback in the NFL, about $200,000 more on average than the deal Byron Jones just got with his deal down in Miami. So great move. I thought it was a badly needed move. We've been very weak in the secondary at cornerback. It's been a point of weakness, a point of emphasis that we've had to address over the past, I don't know, ever since Asante Samuel left. And Darius Slay, 3 straight Pro Bowls. He's been an All-Pro. 2 years ago, had 8 interceptions. Last year, had what you could consider a down year. But when you really look at him and the games that he played and how they were matching him up, he shadows the opposing team's top receiver every game, which doesn't happen unless you're Patrick Peterson, or even Richard Sherman don't do that. Unless you're Patrick Peterson or Revis when he was still playing, teams don't typically line you up on an island and allow you to shadow the opposing team's number 1 guy in the slot to the other side of the field or wherever he may be going. And that's what he does. He had good success against Keenan Allen last year. He gave us some plays against Keenan Allen, but overall held him to like 6 catches for 76 yards and no touchdowns, and had a pick at the end of the game. He still has that blazer speed, that 4.36 speed, and he has that makeup speed. When he does give up a step, he can make up that ground. He still showed that ability last year, so I don't think he's lost a step yet. And he matched up against Keenan Allen one-on-one, had success. Matched up against Amari Cooper the past 2 years that the Lions had played him, and had a lot of success. I know Amari was injured last year in that game that they played them, but I mean, hey, you can't be feeling sorry for somebody because they're injured. And he came out and he didn't just make him look like he was injured. He just locked him down. And he had a chance at a pick. And that's really the only kind of big catch that Amari had for like 15 yards. And the ball got to Amari because it went through Darius's hands. He just missed the interception. So I like the way he's able to stay in a receiver's hip pocket. Good ball skills. Turns his head around. Good makeup speed. And he's a student of the game. A big story came out this week following his departure from Detroit. I don't know if you guys heard, but there was this whole big thing about him losing respect for Matt Patricia, the head coach of the Lions. And he came out on First Take, and they were asking him what happened. What's going on, Darren? And he said, we were in the meeting room doing film study, and he put on tape of Darius Slay giving up some plays to a certain wide receiver whose name was not mentioned, and he was getting on him like, this is, you got to step it up. And he was like, I'm cool with that. I can respect that. But then he was just like, he put up like a Instagram, a social media post of him, giving props to said receiver, and he was like, yo, you need to stop sucking this man's privates in front of the whole team during a team meeting, film session. Sorry, man. As a professional and as a man, I can't let that ride. If me personally, and that was what pissed him off, and that was the reason for a lot of the the ill feelings in the locker room and between him and Matt Patricia personally that never really came out to the public through the media, and now we're finally hearing the behind the scenes from the man himself saying this. So, and Matt Patricia is 9-22-1 in the past 2 years. That's not exactly the gold standard for success. You see a lot of these Bill Belichick disciples. They try to take the Patriot way and bring it to whatever team they go and be the head coach of, and it hasn't really worked out that great. The only place that has worked out so far has been Tennessee with Mike Vrabel, who obviously we saw him in the AFC Championship game last year with the Titans and coaching up Derrick Henry and that squad. But it hasn't worked for Josh McDaniels out in Denver. It hasn't worked for Matt Patricia out in Detroit. It didn't work for Romeo Crennel over in Cleveland. You look at all these coaches, and they've tried to bring that same culture where you just shut up and do your job, and it's kind of like this very, what's the word for, artificial type of work environment where nobody can really show emotion, or like I wouldn't say they frown upon showing your personality, but they don't necessarily encourage that either. And to single out one of your top players and try to use him as an example, that's fine. But in the way that Matt Patricia did it, I don't know if that's what you did out in New England, but man, you can't be running your organization like that. Like Darren just said, I don't think Matt's wrong, but you need to be mindful of the words you choose and choose them very carefully when you're talking to your players. I mean, just for instance, WIP, Ike Reese has a show with Johnny Marks, and Ike Reese was obviously a former starting and special teams linebacker for the Eagles during the Andy Reid era. Very well known around this area, made a lot of big plays on special teams, and great player, man. And he talked about, before Andy got there, the last years with his time with Ray Rose, because he talked about when he was a rookie. Maybe he wasn't a rookie. Anyways, he was talking about the speeches that Ray Rose used to give, and Ray Rose, fiery, defensive-minded head coach. He was a defensive coordinator who became head coach, and those defensive guys, man, they got a couple screws loose. They have a different type of energy, and if you're getting your behind kicked, you said the type of halftime speeches Ray would give is like, yo, Ray would challenge your manhood. Like, talk about, this, that, and the third, like your wives, this, that. It's like, yo, Ray out of pocket. But that's the way some people just, they get down, like when they're trying to get their point across. And Matt Patricia, he's a defensive-minded coach, as Bill Belichick was, from the school of Bill Parcells. And Bill is digging you too. But, that's unacceptable. And if I was any player in that locker room and somebody called me out in that fashion, I would have a problem with him as a professional and personally. I don't know what some of you guys thinking here. I know Daniel and me, Darren, me and you share the same sentiment, but I wouldn't have taken that stuff riding either. But he's here now, so you're going to have Darius Slay, and Jim Schwartz was there when he was drafted. So you better believe that Jim Schwartz had a lot of sway in getting this move made. And make no mistake, the Eagles wanted to get Darius Slay before the trade deadline last year, and word was that they were willing to give up upwards of a first-round pick. So that shows you how much they had a need at the position and how much they value Darius Slay. So the fact that they only had to give up a third rounder and a fifth rounder, that was excellent value. Joe Banner, former GM for the Eagles, well known to Eagles fans during the Andy Reid era. Obviously for the whole T.O. situation, the rift between Joe Banner and T.O. and so on and so forth. He came on and said that was excellent value. A third rounder, you might have a 20 to 25% chance that you get a starter with a third round pick. So not only did you get a starter, but you got an all-pro who, in my opinion, is still playing between a very good and an elite level. He's somewhere in between there. I would be very happy if he gave you very good to elite play for the next 2 years of that contract. And I would say you got your money's worth, and he's gonna, if he plays at that level, he changes the dynamics of your defense completely because you can play man coverage more. You bring that ferocious front seven to get after the quarterback. But now you actually have at least one cornerback that you can say, I'm going to take away this team's best option. You have to beat me another way. For all the criticism that people give to Bill Belichick for this, that, and the third, the brilliance of Bill Belichick is that he always takes away your best option and makes you beat him with something else. Stephon Gilmore is his chess piece, as was Ty Law, as was Asante Samuel. Throughout the years, if they had nothing else, they've always had Tom Brady, a really good tight end, whether it be Gronk or a receiving threat like Brady, and they've always had a lockdown cornerback, one lockdown cornerback. Revis, Ty Law, Asante Samuel, Stephon Gilmore. I'm going to put him on your best option, take them out of the game, and you're going to beat me with a guy that can't catch the ball that well. And that's how he makes teams look so inept when they go face him. And that was the biggest issue, just off topic, why the Eagles were able to beat the Patriots in that Super Bowl is because we had too many options. Okay, take away Zach Ertz. We got Alshon at his peak with the Eagles. Touchdown in the back of the end zone. Take away Alshon. We got Zach Ertz. Take away Zach Ertz. We got Nelson Aguilar when Aguilar was actually playing at a high level. You have so many different options. That's the only way to beat a team like that. And hopefully we can incorporate that optionality into our defense now that we have a true number one lockdown receiver. So you have him at cornerback. You move Jalen Mills to safety. It's sad to see Malcolm Jenkins go. I personally would have re-signed Malcolm Jenkins and had him and Darius Slay. You could have gave Malcolm Jenkins effectively what would have been a guaranteed contract for 2 years. Give him $10 million a year. Because I think he got $16 million guaranteed from the Saints on his deal. There's no reason why you couldn't have given him a deal that guaranteed him $16 million. So I think it's a mistake. Was his play as high as it was 2 years ago or in 2018? No, but he still played at a very high level. And I think that hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us. And a move that the Eagles just made today to kind of address the loss in talent that they had following the release of Malcolm Jenkins was they signed Will Parks from the Broncos. There was some rumblings that they had interest in him, and they signed him to a 1-year deal reportedly worth $1.6 million and $1 million guaranteed. So it's a pretty much prove-it deal. He's 26. Well, he turns 26 in July. So they'll get a chance to see what he has, and he'll provide good depth, if nothing else. So you'll have Jalen Mills as your one starter at free safety to at least try to supplement the loss that you had with Malcolm Jenkins. You'll have McLeod back for 2 years as strong safety. Then you'll have Will Parks as your backup safety, which I think is I like it. It's not perfect, but I like it. I think what was most important that they did was they got Darius Slay. You shored up one side of the field at cornerback, and then you brought in Hargrave from the Steelers, and now you have 3 starters at defensive tackle, and you have Hassan Ridgeway as a backup. So you have 3 starters rotating on both on the first and second tier defensive lines, and then you have Hassan Ridgeway, who brings you really good depth as a backup coming in to spell the starters. So if you're able to get after the quarterback, and then you have a lockdown cornerback on the outside in Slay, and you have 2 competent safeties, because people, as I said before, don't remember that Jalen Mills was an excellent safety at LSU. People seem to forget that. They only remember him getting burnt from time to time at cornerback as an Eagle, but they don't remember that he was graded as a 3rd-round pick due to his excellence as a safety at LSU, and he only really dropped in the draft for off-field issues, not because of his talent. So I like what they're doing, shoring up the secondary and the interior of that defensive line. I don't think they'll go after Clowney. He's going to want upwards of $20 million a year. Somebody's going to give it to him, but it hopefully it's not the Eagles, and I don't think it will be. Right now, the Eagles just need to focus on wide receiver, which I think they're going to go into the draft and address that. That being said, let me check out some of these comments because they've been blowing up. So Ryan, Chris says, you know the Raiders ain't got no corona with Nelson because he ain't catching anything. That's a good one. I'm going to have to write that down. Ryan says Hargraves was second in Pro Football Focus behind Aaron Donald. I take those statistics with a grain of salt, but in terms of how efficient he is, I think that he was a highly efficient player at defensive tackle, at nose tackle last year. I think he's going to be very good at 4-3 defensive tackle, the way that Jim Schwartz is going to employ him. And then John Hill says, you literally heard one side of the story, forming an opinion based on that results in an educated opinion. That's fine and all. That being said, I need to hear Matt Patricia or somebody from the organization come out and say that that's not what happened. Regardless of whether if they give their side of the story and they give their reasoning for saying it, that's fine. But if you said what you said, you need to come out and dispute that if you're Matt Patricia. So I get what you're saying, John. But if they can't call him a liar, then whatever they say after that is kind of irrelevant. Unless he says something derogatory back to them in the same vein. Then I could understand that. If he said something derogatory first in that same vein, I could understand that. But if he didn't, then I'm sorry. That's jacked up. And there's no excuses for that. It's unprofessional. So I need to hear Matt Patricia come out, and I don't know what you people think, but I need to hear Matt Patricia or the GM or the owner come out and call Darius Slay a liar. Say what you're saying is not factual. I didn't suggest that you should do that during the meeting. If they can't say that, and he didn't initiate that, everything else is irrelevant, my dude. And that's not an uneducated opinion. Now, go turn on first take. For him to go on national TV and say that, and there to be no response, if somebody said that I said that about somebody on first take, he's talking to Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman, and he's saying that you said that on national TV, and that's the way people are portraying you, I would be right out in front of that. Like, I didn't say that to that man. I would never do that. I didn't hear him do that yet. I would have did that yesterday. I would have did that before he even did the damn interview. All right. So the fact that he hasn't done that yet, I can't respect that man. I'll respect him when he comes out and says otherwise. But for something that serious, you should address that like that. Sorry, my dude. Can't get with it. But thanks for tuning in. So that's what's been going on with the Eagles and free agency. As you guys may have heard, like, a lot of people have been testing positive for coronavirus. A lot of NBA players, no Sixers players so far as I'm aware of. It's been 3 Sixers staff members, along with 4 members of the Nets, including Kevin Durant. With that being said, nothing too big is going on with basketball. Those have been the big moves with football. And we'll see how free agency plays out right now. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen with Jadeveon Clowney, but more is going to be kind of in store as we move towards the draft. The Eagles still have, I believe, 10 draft picks. We still have a 3rd round pick after trading one to the Lions. We traded our pick, number 85 in the 3rd round, to the Lions, but we still have our compensatory pick, which is pick number 101 in the draft. And we're in good shape. We still have ammunition to move up if need be, for a player that deserves that type of draft capital. There's one linebacker from Clemson that would be awesome if they could even dream of getting in position to draft him. Obviously, Ruggs from Alabama, Jerry Jeudy from Alabama. It's a really deep stock draft class at wide receiver. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll keep it real brief. Leave your comments below. I thank you guys for tuning in. And just to reiterate, John, uh, no animosity towards you, but I call it like I see it. Let me know what you think um, of my opinion in the comments below. And everybody, be safe. Remember, today, Governor Murphy is saying that by 9 o'clock, everybody has to be in, and there's going to be a strict order for people to not be able to travel around. I don't know if that's restricted to just the supermarket. Like, I don't know if people will still be able to go there to get food and whatnot, but they're going to be enforcing keeping people inside the house. So be mindful of that. Yeah, a couple of Lakers players tested positive as well. Marcus Smart tested positive, and I'll just echo his sentiments that he echoed on CNN, to not take this lightly just because you don't have symptoms, or just because you're young, or just because whatever. Don't take this lightly, because you don't want to spread it to other people that may be in a worse off medical situation than you may be. So be smart, be diligent, and remember to smile, people. Peace.